We go in depth today on the subject of alimony, not everyone's favorite subject, and there is a group called Florida Alimony Reform, and what it's all about is how to change the laws for people who get divorced. And so joining us today is the group's co-director, Frisher. Thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you, Jackie.
You know, you talk about alimony, it's not everyone's most favorite subject except you know, when they're going through it. So what exactly is it about Florida's current alimony laws that you changed?
Well, certainly one of the biggest issues, and unless you really go through the family law system, if you're not divorced, you really wouldn't know about this, but if you do go through the system, you realize there's something called permanent alimony that's out there. And a lot of the judges are hitting people and ordering people to pay permanent alimony. That's paying alimony for the rest of your life.
Let me stop you for just a minute. I thought that when a child reached the age of 18, the alimony stopped.
Well, that's child support. It's very different from alimony. We're not talking about child support. Child support has an actual formula, and typically when children reach an emancipation age, typically 18 in Florida, you don't have to pay child support any longer.
But alimony for life?
Very, very different. Yes, the judge has total discretion right now, arbitrary discretion, on the amount and the duration of how much alimony he or she can order somebody to pay.
Okay, what about when you get remarried? Does the alimony stop?
Yes, typically you'll stop paying alimony if your spouse remarries or if somebody dies. But we have members of our organization paying $10,000, $15,000 a month in alimony payments. If you were getting that amount of money, would you remarry?
No.
Probably not, yes.
Probably not.
Yes, and if you knew it would stop when you remarried. So most people don't.
Okay, so now you have a website, and you say that the current statutes only make divorce worse by creating an adversarial relationship between the parties.
Yeah, typically you can go back to try to modify your alimony payment. Certainly when circumstances change, you lose your job or you have a new job that's paying less. But the modifications are very rare, for one thing, if they happen at all, and they typically are still very abusive because, again, judges have total discretion. And what we're trying to do is change that around. We're trying to introduce in the new legislation an actual formula for alimony amounts and a duration. We want it to end at retirement times. When people have a federal retirement age, we want them to be able to go back to court and say, hey, I'm retired, now I no longer should have to pay alimony, which we think is fair. We believe in alimony. We think that there's a certain amount of alimony that is necessary to get people back on their feet, to get them back into the workforce. But forever alimony that lasts, through retirement for the rest of your life, no, it becomes self-defeating.
Now, alimony can be for the man or for the woman.
That's exactly right. Most of the time, it's the man paying the alimony because, let's face it, men typically are the supporters of the household. But there are a lot of changes that happen. Women now are much more in the workforce, and we have women paying alimony to their ex-husbands as well.
Of course, though, we have to say that women are still making less, on the dollar amount than a man.
That's right. And that's why we agree that a certain amount of alimony may be necessary for a certain amount of time. We don't want to do away with it. But the permanency of it, I mean, let's face it, even a criminal who murders somebody can get out in 20 years on a parole. They don't have to go through, jail for their entire lives. This is kind of indentured servitude.
Okay, so as people get older, we're talking about the 55 and older people, they're worried about their benefits. So you say, if you get married, you lose your alimony. Not that we're saying you should do this, but a lot of people are opting in just to move in together to save their benefits.
Right, and there are cohabitation laws that would prevent, them from receiving alimony if they cohabitate. But even those laws are very, very hard to challenge. You have to show that you're mixing assets. You have to show that you're going around as husband and wife. And we have, again, in our new legislation, we've actually made it a little bit more challenging for being, cohabitating. We want to make sure that the judge could say, well, yes, you are cohabitating, therefore you're going to lose your alimony. Because we think that, cohabitation, you'll have extra income now coming into the household to be able to afford your expenses.
All right, very quickly, we'll wrap up. What is the website?
It's FloridaAlimonyReform.com, and we're actually morphing into a new organization called Family Law Reform because we realize that there are other issues of family law that need to be overseen.
All right.
So FloridaAlimonyReform.com. Please come and help us make donations if you can. We need it.
All right, Frisher, thank you so much.
Thank you.